Well, welcome everybody. This is Bonnie with Balancing Your Life Radio, and I'm very excited tonight about our guest. I hope that you have your pens and paper ready because you are really going to want to take some notes tonight. Well, I'm going to give Jack his introduction now, and I think you'll be very impressed. My guest today is Jack Zufelt, an internationally acclaimed author, speaker, and trainer who has worked with major organizations all over the world. His best-selling book, The DNA of Success, is now in 15 languages. He has analyzed why so many of the things taught about achieving success simply don't work. He has discovered the true cause of all achievement and success, and it is not what you think. What he teaches is being called a breakthrough and a wake-up call for the self-help industry. It's gotten attention all around the world. Over 150 million people have seen and heard Jack and his message. Jack Zufelt has achieved worldwide recognition because he has discovered something new, something different, something that has never been taught before about success and achievement. It's changing the lives of millions of people all around the world. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Merit by a former President of the United States. Jack has been honored by the United States Senate for teaching Americans how to achieve better results in their personal lives and in their careers. He was interviewed on over 2,000 radio and TV talk shows, including The Today Show and PBS. He is considered a who's who of human potential superstars and the best of the best by the world-famous Nightingale Conant Corporation. Get your pencils and paper ready because Jack is going to give you the answers to many of the questions you have about what you can do to make the coming year full of successes instead of broken promises to yourself. Welcome, Jack.
I am so glad to be on the show with you. I've known you for a long time, and I keep getting the strong impression that you're making a big difference in lives. You and your husband have been doing good for a long time, and now I get to help you do it. That makes me happy.
Well, we are trying our best in every way possible that we felt led or to change lives and to create a better living space for everyone. So, and I know that you've been doing that a lot longer than I have.
And in a different world, I do it as well as you do at churches, but that's too small. The Lord has blessed me to be able to go on a larger scale because I ask him all the time. In fact, this is a really cool thing that happened to me when I was saying a prayer, asking one time about him to bless my children. We all ask God to bless our kids, right?
That's right.
I got 5 kids, and I got lots of reasons to ask him to bless them with this and this and this. And when I finished the prayer and it ended, the thought came to me, and I turned right around and said another prayer and said, Heavenly Father, I keep asking you to bless my children, and I thank you for that. Now, what can I do to bless yours?
Wow.
That's everybody else, basically. And so
that's right.
I now know that he will use us to the degree that we will let him to bless his children. All he wants is a willing heart. And if we're willing, doors will open and things will happen like just happened in your life, where opportunities will open up doors where you will be able to do things that you just think are a little like mini miracles.
Right. Amen to that. Because I know I never, ever, growing up, I was very much an introvert, very shy, timid to myself, would rather stay in the house with my grandparents or my mom than, go out and make friends. And I never, ever would have thought that I would stand up in front of people and preach, speak, teach, educate women on the power of self, and it was just amazes me. But to look back, I can see all the little steps along the way. He used those to bring me out of my shell and open me up, and he's taken me on a journey I never thought that I would be going on.
It usually is that way, and the Lord says, I know what I'm doing, just trust me. And you and I are of the same ilk in that we are blessed with this core desire. That's a word that I created, or phrase, core desire, that I created a long time ago. A desire that pierces you to the very core of your being. And it has to do with our love for and wonderful blessings that we receive from trying and even succeeding in helping people. And ultimately, my main mentor was Jesus Christ, and that's what he did. And we're supposed to be like him, and all he did was try to bless and help people. In fact, he went further than that. He saved us all. And so I'm thinking, okay, I want to be like that. And I found out that one of the most rewarding things on this planet is to be of service to someone, to help them in some capacity. Sometimes it's just an encouraging word, or I hand them a copy of my book for free because they can't afford it, or I hold somebody's hand or give them a hug. Or
That's right.
they get to listen to me on a call like tonight. There's a zillion ways that he will use us if we're willing to be used to bring his children knowledge and truth, so they, like Jesus taught, if you know the truth, it'll set you free. So I teach truth to set people free.
Well,
free from the limitations that keep them in the rut they're in, or they're stuck. In fact, one time I was in New York City giving a presentation to an association of bank owners. You had to, in order to be part of that association, you had to own 4 or more banks. And I don't own any banks, so I was there speaking to these guys about the DNA of success. These guys didn't really need me. They were already really successful, at least financially. And so I'm talking to them, and the guy that's introducing me said, Jack, you might not want to mention the Bible and Scripture and or Jesus quite so much in your presentation. And I said, to this group, and I said, why? And he said, because they're all Jews. I said, oh, well, thank you for telling me that. I didn't know that. So I get up there, and this is how the Lord blesses us. I'm not afraid and will never be ashamed of where I come from regarding my relationship with Jesus, but I didn't know how to bring it up with these guys. So I said, I'm here today, gentlemen, to teach you some truths that will set you free in every area of your life. In fact, my main mentor said, and then I stopped, and God put these words in my mouth. Oh, my gosh, I just realized my main mentor was one of you. He was a Jew.
Wow.
And he said, if you know the truth, it'll set you free. Do you know who I'm talking about? And some did and most didn't. And I said, his name was Jesus Christ. And he said, if you know the truth, it'll set you free. So I'm here to teach you some truths that'll set you free in any area of life that you want. And they just clapped.
Wow, awesome.
It's a great story. And the thing I've learned is that put your trust in God. And if your heart's willing, he can fill in the rest. All you got to do is do your part.
That's right. That's right.
Today, you're allowing me to tell and share with all your listeners some truths that will help them become free in any area of life that matters to them. And I've identified 6 areas of life. We all have 6 areas of life. And everything we do falls in one or more of those characters or those areas, like financial or social or family and spiritual, educational. And so try to figure out whatever you do, and I don't care if it's running, getting in shape. That's under the physical area of life. How about spiritual? Well, that's a whole area all by itself. So how in the world can you have a life where you achieve a high level of satisfaction and balance in all 6 areas at the same time?
Wow.
And that's what I teach around the world. So I love the title of your show.
And for the average person, that's a very hard thing to even try to comprehend.
Yeah, and so that made me kind of popular. And the reason is I break it down to the truth, and they go, oh, I never thought of it like that. So here's the truth about balance. Of those 6 areas of life, you will not probably be able to do all of them equally every single day. Maybe not even every single week. But over a 30-day period, you look back and you say, I got everything I wanted done in every one of those areas of life. It's like you're juggling 6 balls at the same time, and sometimes you have to focus on one ball, like your family, because you've got a vacation or you got a child's play or a football game you're going to go to, Or on Sunday you go to church. You're focusing on one thing or another for that time frame. And if you have a job, you're focusing on that 40 to 60 hours a week. So how in the world do you do all the others too? So what people need to do is change their paradigm from what it looks like to be balanced. And basically it is this: getting what you want in all those areas of life, period, but not necessarily in the same day or even the same week. If you look back in over a 2 or 3 month period, you've done great with your family, you've done great with your job, but your spirituality is not in place, or vice versa. You're really strong spiritually, but you're ignoring your family because you're so busy being at church. Somebody coined the phrase, he's so spiritually minded, he's no earthly good. he
I've been there and done that.
They forget to take care of the family while they're taking care of everybody else. I mean, there's balance. You've got to have balance. So the thing that I've learned is there's a way to do it as long as you understand the formula I'm going to share with you, this listening audience, your listening audience today or tonight. And the first thing I want to share with them and everybody is the right kind of attitude. I call it a success attitude. Everybody has to change something between their ears. If you know the truth, it'll set you free. Well, the truth has to first get into your head and into your mind so you understand it, like 2 plus 2 is 4. And you've been thinking it's 2 plus 2 is 5. Well, whoever's working with the wrong formula is going to get the wrong results. And I come along and put information into the brain that says, no, 2 and 2 is not 5, it's 4. And once somebody in their brain accepts that, then it can settle into their heart. Sometimes it's the other way around. When I say you can be balanced in every area of your life if you just know this formula, sometimes that goes right past their brain and they go, I don't understand how, but I want that. And their heart now believes it and wants to know how. And the head then has one job, and that's to learn how to give the heart what it wants. As I love the scriptures in the Bible that talk about, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's Proverbs 23:7. It doesn't say as a man thinketh in his head, so is he. And this Proverbs 4:23 says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So in my presentation tonight, and in my books and CDs and etc., and my things that I provide to the world, I focus on the heart with the basic understanding that the heart controls us. If you hate something, you aren't going to do it. If you love something, you will do it if you can figure out a way to do it. Now, the brain can figure out how to do it. You can learn from somebody, a teacher, a trainer, a mentor, a professor, a minister. You can learn anything. The question is, what do you want to learn? And guess what? Here's the biggest problem. 97% of the people out there do not know what they want with all their heart in every area of life. They might in one area, like, I want to be happily married. Okay, I believe that with those who say that. But they don't know what they want to do about their job. I have a job and I hate my job, but I got to keep going so I can pay the bills. So they go to work every 5 or 6 days a week so that they can be free to play 2 days a week on the weekend. So they're unhappy 40, 50 hours a week until they can get home to their family. And I'm saying, well, that's a way to do it, but there's a better way. You can find another way to create income that does not limit you to a job that you do not like. What about a job you do like? Or start your own business that brings you joy and happiness, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the success attitude frame of mind that I want everybody to embrace. And it's basically super simple, easy to understand, and it's this. A success attitude is that frame of mind that allows us all to achieve whatever we want. So let me put it first person. Ladies and gentlemen listening tonight, a success attitude is that frame of mind that allows you to achieve whatever you want because you know that you can create the opportunity and then make it happen if someone will just show you how. You don't doubt that you can learn. You doubt what you need to learn. You doubt where you're going to find a teacher. You doubt whether you can even afford it or not, but there's all kinds of things that can come up. But not can you learn? So let's find out the biggest problem, and that is what I want to talk about on this call tonight. The biggest problem is if you don't know what you want to learn with all your heart, which teacher are you going to go listen to? Which book will you read? I'll give you an example about that. A lot of people talk about, and this is why I say so many of the things out there on personal development do not work, and this is the first one. So many people have purchased a book, like 50 million copies have been purchased of that book. It's not mine. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Right. I have that book.
That's one of the best-selling books of all time. And so 50 million people, at least that's the report I had a few years ago, have purchased that book. And so when I'm speaking at audiences around the world, I will reference that book, and I'll say, how many of you have that book or have read it? Raise your hands. And honestly, half the audience will raise their hand every time. Bonnie, it's crazy. Half the people or more will raise their hand. They've read that book, even if I'm in Taiwan, because it's translated in lots of languages. And so I got half the audience with their hand up in the air that they've read that book. Then I say, keep your hands up if you're rich. all hands go down. So I then say, based on what we just observed, either that book's faulty or you're stupid. So let me tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. The book is not faulty, and you're not stupid. So what's missing? There's a missing link. And I'm going to tell you what that link is. And when you fill that link then and put that missing link in, then it's going to change everything. And a good example of that is when my wife agreed to let me, or to show me how to bake a cake. I told her I wanted to bake a cake for, maybe it was even for her, I can't remember for who, but I wasn't going to let her do it. I was going to do it. And so I got some instructions from her, and she said, just follow the instructions on the back of on this card, this recipe card, and you'll have a great cake. I said, okay. So I did exactly what the instructions said. It's not hard to measure out things and stir them up and pour it in and pour milk in and all that. So it did exactly what I was supposed to do. And when the cake came out of the oven, cooled down a little bit, it looked kind of bad. But when we cut into it and took a bite of it, it tasted bad. Oh. And I said to Marcy, my wife, I don't understand this. I did everything this recipe said to do. And she said, because she's a really good cook, she said, well, you must not have, because it doesn't look or taste right. And I argued with her. I said, I did too. I followed that formula or that recipe to the letter. And she said, well, let's go over it. So we went through line by line, and we got to the one that says, I think it was 2 tablespoons of baking powder. And when I read it, I said, 2 tablespoons of baking soda. And she said, no, that's not soda. It's baking powder. In my mind, they were the same. So guess what I used? I used baking soda, not baking powder. That'll ruin a cake. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you only have one ingredient off, that cake isn't going to turn out. Your life isn't going to turn out as good as it could. Your family's not going to turn out as good as it could, because one ingredient can interfere with the end result, like my cake story. Or H3O. H2O is what makes water. H3O does not. So you got to have the right formula. So I came up with the DNA of success, which is the I call it the DNA because everybody knows what DNA is, especially nowadays. The DNA is the building blocks of our body. And so what is the DNA of anything? It's the building blocks of that thing. So the DNA, the building blocks of success, is only 2 things. Only 2. Not a whole bunch of things. The first one is you got to know what you want with all your heart. So that's the first one, and that's where 97% of the people fail to accurately do that, because they can't do it. And I'll give you some examples of that in a minute. The second part of the success formula is find a teacher, train a mentor that shows you how to get it. Know what you want with all your heart, and then find somebody to show you how to get it. You want to be a black belt in karate? Well, you're going to have to get a black belt to teach you. I use that example a lot because I am a black belt in karate. I ran a karate studio for 7 years, and I had lots of kids come to me, young men and women who wanted to be black belts because the idea of a black belt has some sizzle, right? And so I would tell them what it's going to take. And so oftentimes I'd hear this when they say, what's it take to be a black belt? And I'd say about 4.5 years of your life and about an hour of practice every day. And here's the one that's not going to be a black belt. They go, every day, an hour, every day? that person's not going to be a black belt because their heart's not really in it. Their head wants it, but their heart's going, are you kidding? I don't want to put an hour a day into that. That's not worth it to me. And then the one who does want to be a black belt says, an hour a day? What if I did 2? Can I get there quicker? The answer is, yes, you can. And those are the ones who became black belts. I had a lot of people who signed the documents, signed agreements to pay $30 a month, or $50 a month to come and take lessons. And for the first 3 months, they'd take lots of lessons. And then they'd stop coming. And yet they still pay. What's wrong with that picture? How many people do that? New Year's resolutions are made to be
broken.
Everybody knows that because we're not resolute about them. And what makes you resolute about them? In fact, New Year's resolutions are a joke. Everybody laughs about how quickly they get broken because they're fun. They're just a joke.
Make them.
No, and nobody should because they're jokes, and they laugh about it. So the reason they don't happen is because we're not resolute about them. They are not core desires. They're wishes, they're wants, they're I'd like to haves, but they're not something you're driven to do no matter what to get. So what I teach people is how to figure out what you want at that level on a scale of 1 to 100. 100 is a core desire, something you want with all your heart, 100% of your heart. Half-hearted doesn't cut it in anything. 3/4 hearted doesn't cut it. Even 98% hearted will only get you 98% of the way there, but there's 1 more mile to go, and you just don't get there because you just fell short. You quit. But 100 on a scale from 1 to 100 is a core desire. So I teach people, I'm going to give you guys on this show tonight, this interview tonight, how to figure out the hundreds. And they're super, super important. Let me give you an example. There's a guy named Eric Hoffer, who is a philosopher, a very famous philosopher, and he said, this quote is super short, he said, it seems that intense desire or core desires creates not only its own opportunities, but its own talents. Because a lot of people, and I quote him all the time, because a lot of people say, I don't have what it takes. And I say, I can't buy that. If you are not addicted to drugs and alcohol and have the ability to make decisions, you do have what it takes. The only question is, how do you want to use it? That's something that most people don't, 97% of the people out there don't know how to figure out. What are my hundreds?
And some people have a desire that it just won't go away. It's in their heart. It's in their mind. They're always thinking about it. They're always, it's just there. And that's the one thing. I was told when I was a little girl that you got to figure out what you love in life and then figure out how to make a living at it.
That's been around a long time, so all I did was say, and so why isn't that working? Why aren't people doing that? And that's why the self-help industry became so big and started in the 1940s when Norman Vincent Peale and Earl Nightingale and people old enough to be your and my dad, they started that industry because people were still not successful at the degree they wanted, and yet clear back to the beginning of time, people were successful. I mean, somebody built pyramids, and they did not do goal settings, and they did not read books on how to build pyramids, and they did not listen to spatial speakers on how to build pyramids. They just built them. And in fact, the very first crime done by Cain when he slew Abel was based on a core desire. Cain wanted what Abel had, so he killed him to get it. That's how powerful a core desire is. It will cause some people to do things they shouldn't do. Right. In fact, this other quote by a guy named Robert Collier says, the first principle of success is desire. If you care enough for a result, you will most certainly get it. So the question isn't, does desire matter? Because you were taught that since you was a kid, you said. Me too. Mm-hmm. How come then aren't people doing it? Well, here's the weak link, because they don't know what their core desires are. So that's the DNA of all success. I help people figure out on a scale from 1 to 100, what are the hundreds, and those are the things you want with all your heart. Mm-hmm. Now, the next thing to learn is how do you find a teacher, trainer, mentor, professor, somebody that knows how to do it? How do you find somebody to do that?
Let me just add this because you're going right into where my thought is. I wind up talking to women all the time that want to start a business and they have a wonderful desire to make change in this world, whether it's for animals or children or, men or women. My son's fussing all the time about, he's 20, and he says, I hear all these women out there wanting to help women, help women, help women. Well, what about the men? There's men that need help too. So I told him, I said, well, honey, there's a business for you. There's something you can get started, and bringing awareness to men's issues. But when you first get started, maybe I've heard so many stories about people who have hit rock bottom. They've been on food stamps, they've been homeless and all that, but they want to start a business, but they have no money, no funds. So then they kind of give up on it. And yep. I try to help people figure out ways of doing that. But not everybody can find a mentor that they can afford, somebody that they look up to. So where do we go from there?
First of all, I would say you do not have to pay for a mentor. None of my mentors charged me. I have a plaque in my office that's like the plaque you see in a restaurant that's for the Employee of the Month plaque, little teeny brass brackets. Well, I have a plaque in my office that looks like a shield. It's quite nice, and there are 35 little brass plaques or brass, plates on it. And at the top of this plaque it says, to these people I owe an eternal debt of gratitude for their substantial influence in my life. So I was honoring those men and women who taught me something that caused me to make a major change, and not one of them charged me.
That's wonderful.
Number two, I am also asked by people all the time, how do you start a business? I don't have the money. Well, I teach them some other truths about that, and one of them is this. I also was working for Mr. somebody else, the other guy, and I hated being controlled. I wanted to be free. I don't like being told what to do when to do it. I wanted the freedom to be my own boss.
I'm there with you.
I quit my job in the fireplace industry. I sold and installed fireplaces. And I quit that, and I went into another business. And the reason I was able to do that is there was a man in my church who was old enough to be my dad. I was 28 years old, and he was really rich, and I was really poor. My wife, when I married her, made 3 times more money than I did. She was a systems engineer for IBM. And I have no college education. I barely got out of high school. And so I was in the fireplace industry, but she decided when we had our first baby that she wanted to be a full-time mom. So she stayed home to be a full-time mom, and I was totally okay with that, and I'm going to go be the breadwinner. Well, I needed help because I didn't know how to bake enough bread to pay the bills. So I prayed like crazy, and here's what I can tell the world with total faith. If you trust in God as your partner, you cannot fail. Any two people could succeed at anything as long as one of them is God. And he opened doors and introduced me to people that taught me things I needed to know. And one of them was this guy that was really wealthy. And I said, Mr. Harris, I want to be just like you. I want to do what you do and be the free like you are financially. Can you tell me how? And he said, sure, I will. Turns out he was recovering from back surgery, and he couldn't get around and work so much, so he was at home a lot and recuperating. He said, come on over. So I spent hours with him, and he would just download knowledge and information to me and tell me stories, and he was educating me in a way that I could never have gotten from a professor at any university. Most professors don't make much money. This guy was a multimillionaire. He was a consultant to Madame Chiang Kai-shek in China, the one who ran China. This guy was influential and wealthy, and he was teaching this little country bumpkin. That's the miracle that God can do for anybody. So when somebody says, well, Jack, you're lucky. You got blessed. I don't have that. I said, well, did you pray about it? No. Well, if you do, you might find out that your prayer's already been answered. And they'll say, what do you mean? I said, do you know me? And they say, yes. Well, perhaps I get to be your Mr. Harris.
Wow.
Oh, they hadn't thought like that. They forget, they don't know how to look for, or they forget how to look at the miracles that are already happening to them. So I got taught by this guy And remember, I couldn't rub two nickels together. I was worried about paying bills. I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I worried about keeping the apartment paid for every month. Cash flow was tight. He taught me how to do what he did for a living, which was raise investment capital. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know that world. I never even knew it existed. I did not know the terminology, like what's a prospectus, what's seed money, et cetera, et cetera. I knew none of it. And he taught me all of that. And I said, okay, I'm going to go do that. And I said, how do you do it? And he said, well, you need to get a prospectus printed up. And I said, okay, what's that? And he told me. And then I said, well, where do you get one? And he told me a lawyer has to create that. And I said, lawyer? I got to hire a lawyer? And he said, yeah, you got to have a lawyer do it for you. And I said, how much does that cost? He said, about $15,000. I made $20,000 a year. And I'm going to pay a lawyer $15,000. I said, well, that's off the table. I don't have the money for do that. I guess I'm lost cost. And I literally, in front of him, almost started crying and said, I can't do that. And he kind of like patted me on the top of the head and he said, Jack, calm down. Use OPM. And I said, opium? I'm not going to do drugs. He said, no, OPM, other people's money. Oh, what's that? How do you do that? So he taught me about syndication, and he taught me about raising capital from investors. And I said, how do you do that? And he taught me. Now, remember, this is a country bumpkin that barely got out of high school. And because of what he taught me, I went out and raised $500,000 to finance and buy some businesses that I wanted to own.
Wow.
Subsequently, what he taught me, I was able to go and do it. I raised over about a 15 or 20-year period about $23 million, and I bought businesses. I became a little person while he was doing the same thing as a big person. He talked in hundreds of millions and billions, and I talked in $500,000 increments. My point of that story isn't to make me look good. It's to say, ladies and gentlemen, if Jack Zufelt can do it with God's help, anybody can do it. You just need to trust God, and then he says, ask, seek, knock. Ask, and it shall be given unto you, which I did with Mr. Harris. Seek, and I did with Mr. Harris. Knock, and it shall be opened. So everything the Lord asked us to do, he's willing to give us, but we've got to ask, seek, and knock. He says, I'll guide your footsteps, but you got to lift your feet. And the right men and women came into my life and taught me what I needed to know, and I became pretty good at what I learned from them because I applied it right away. When they said, no, Jack, 2 and 2 is not 5. You need to change your mind. It's 2 and 2 is 4. You're going to get and don't use baking soda anymore. Use baking powder. In other words, I got taught the correct formulas and a way of thinking by these highly successful men and women, and I applied it, and I got what they got. That is the DNA of success. And I now break that down into a formula that is the success attitude formula, which is so simple. I'm going to just read it out loud to you right now, so people write this down. SA, which is success attitude, equals D plus D times PA plus P. D plus D times PA plus P. So if you were to put that on a piece of paper, it looks like a formula you'd learn in an algebra class, which I never took. I don't understand algebra or calculus or anything like that, but I've made millions. I guess you don't need to know math as long as you can pay somebody that knows math.
That's
like
right.
My CPAs. Well, let me give you the definition of those letters. The first one is D. The first one is not just D, it's a CD. Sorry, first 2 letters are CD. Core desire. In other words, what do you want with all your heart? Not half-hearted, not 3/4, not even 90% hearted, but with all your heart. And then the next link, D, is direction. So you have a core desire plus direction. Direction means you get direction from somebody that knows how to show you how to go, how to do it, what road to go on, what you do and what you don't do. Don't use baking soda. Don't do this, do that. And you get a master, teacher, trainer, somebody that is good at it. A black belt can teach you how to be a black belt. So you have to listen to a black belt. A brown belt cannot teach you. It's amazing how many people tell me they're part of a what do you call those groups where they get together mastermind groups.
Mastermind, yeah.
And when I find out who they are and I get to know them a little bit, I say, which one of you is the mastermind? Because none of them are good at any of the things they want to be good at. And they all get together and talk about things, but none of them are black belts. And it's like everybody getting together to talk about how to be black belts, but none of them are black belts. That's just wrong.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with getting together and talking about things and sharing ideas and things like that, but that's not how you learn from. If you don't know it, you got to get somebody there that does know it. So CD plus D times PA. So here you got core desire. You're real clear on what you want with all your heart. Now you're getting some direction given to you by a master who knows how to do it. And then PA is proper action. You've got to take the proper action to apply that direction that you've just been given. And proper action includes never giving up.
Well, if you want it with all your heart, you're going to keep pushing. You have to keep pushing until you get to.
That's what the last part of the formula, because here's what I've run into. A lot of people say, I got it. And they go out and they do proper action for a while. Then they run into Murphy. You ever heard of Murphy's Law?
Yeah.
They run into the barriers and the brick walls and potholes that exist. You don't hit a home run at the time. And like I use this example to make a point. A guy says, Jack, you told me how to hit the ball out of the park, and I watch you do it, but I can't do it. And so it's using the baseball analogy. I say, well, show me what you're doing. And so they get up to the plate and they're ready to hit the ball, and I say, stop right there. I've got it figured out. I can see what needs to change. And they go, what? Hold the skinny end of the bat. A silly example, I know, but some people are holding the wrong end of the bat and trying to hit home runs. And so my job and a teacher, trainer, mentor's job is to say, don't do this and do that. And so the last part of the formula, the last P is persistence. You can have a core desire, you can have clear direction, and you can have proper action, but if you do not persist in it, it's not going to happen. You don't usually get wealthy overnight. I just saw a short video that somebody put on Facebook about a guy who failed so many times and he was called a loser and failure his whole life. And he ended up having one of the largest businesses in history. But everybody told him he was a loser. And now his business is worth like $3.1 billion. Wow. And his products are sold in 180,000 stores. And yet he failed so many times. And I'm talking about, I think they listed like 20 things he failed at. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you fail? Yes, you will. That's just the way it is, because you don't come out of the chute as a black belt. You cannot be a master overnight. It does take some time. So when you have somebody that's teaching you and training you and showing you how to be what you need to be and do what you need to do, you will get better and better as time goes on. I love that phrase that somebody said in one of the leaders in my church. He says, that which we persist in doing becomes easier to do, not that the nature of the thing has changed, but our ability to do has increased. So you do get gooder and gooder. I know, that's bad language. You do get better and better unless you quit.
That's right.
If you keep holding the fat end of the bat, trying to knock the ball out of the park or even get to first base, you're not going to succeed in baseball.
All right.
So somebody comes along that you trust who says, here's how you do it. This is why my books and CDs are so popular. Everybody needs to go to get my master course, DNAmastercourse.com. They ought to go there and get my program so they can learn how to do and be what I'm talking about, because they may not have Jack Zufelt or somebody like me to actually teach them. But they have me on DVD, and if they get my package, they'll have everything there they need.
Well, I want to let people know to go to www.dnamastercourse.com. Go there and check out what Jack is talking about And if you're serious about being successful and making 2018 your year of success, go to DNAM or DNAmastercourse.com and check that out.
Right. So I like the term master. That's why I put it in there, because I'm teaching people how to master their life. So this is a course on how to master anything that matters to you. Now, there's another paradigm I want to give everybody. I use this analogy to help people catch the vision, because a lot of people think poorly of themselves. Maybe some of them listening on this call right now are thinking less of themselves than God does or that you and I think of them. I see them as human beings, and they have the ability to learn. If they're not, if they haven't turned their ability to choose over to drugs and alcohol, if they still have a sound mind, then they can become whatever they want to become. They just have to learn it. So I use the analogy of a Lamborghini. I have a friend who started the Lamborghini Club in America. When I went to his home in California, he had 11 Lamborghinis in his ginormous garage.
Wow.
A Lamborghini is a fast automobile. It's a very expensive automobile, and one of them that's really known for racing is called the Gallardo. It looks like a Ferrari almost, a Ferrari and Lamborghini are similar. Well, this car costs like, at least they start at $450,000 and go up to almost $1 million for the car. So I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm saying it to you, Bonnie, when I look at you, I see a Lamborghini. You're already a human being. You're already a Lamborghini. And the only thing that I see needs to happen is you got a flat tire. We've got to fix that flat tire. Or you're parked in the garage, you never come out. Or else you back out of the garage, hit the street, and then pull right back into the garage. Or you're a Lamborghini and you drive around the block really well, just around the block. As a parent, you're a great parent, or you're a great friend, but you don't go very far. You don't get up on the freeway and go as far as you could and wanted or should, because that Lamborghini can do anything you want to do. And some of you are a Lamborghini and you came out of the garage and you went up on the freeway and you're going like this guy took me up on the freeway for real in this Gallardo. And as we entered the freeway, he punched it to show me how much power is in this car, and I felt like I was in a rocket. It shoved me back in the seat, and I looked over the speedometer, and we were doing 110 miles an hour in first gear. There are 6 gears in a Lamborghini. This guy has races. The Lamborghini clubs do. From one city to another, they're at least 150 miles apart, and they can't get on freeways because there are too many cops. So they hire a plane to fly over top of them and watch for cops. That's its only job. And they take back roads. They take back roads to get to the other town that they've chosen that's at least 150 miles away to see who wins. And he said, Jack, I always win. He said the average speed is 134 miles an hour. My average speed is 190. I cannot even relate to that, although I was in the car that he does that with. I said, don't you dare go to 190. I do not want you to do that. Point being is, ladies and gentlemen, you are a Lamborghini. And you may have a blown engine. You may have a flat tire. You may have 4 flat tires. If you have 4 flat tires and you have a $750,000 car, you do not say this is a piece of crap. This is no good. You say, dang, I got a flat tire. I got to fix it. Dang, I blew my engine. I got to fix it. You do not say, this is a piece of junk. So when you look in the mirror, do not say, I'm a piece of junk. I don't have what it takes. You say, I am a Lamborghini, and I got a flat tire or I got an engine that's blown. I got to fix it. So I'm going to look to Jack Zufelt and others like him, like you and Bonnie. I'm going to look for help and guidance from people who have done it that can fix my flat tires or help me fix my flat tires or put a new engine in. But you never, ever say, I'm not a Lamborghini. One person said, I'm just a housewife, or I'm just a carpenter. I get a lot of justice. And when I started hearing people say that I'm just I coined this phrase. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm tired of hearing that you're just and fill in the blanks. I'm just an accountant. I'm just a CPA. I'm just a whatever, carpenter. I'm just a housewife. I'm just What I know for a fact is that you're just a human being. And somewhere between birth and death, human beings become amazing things and do amazing things and have joy and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're just a human being and you trust God and you trust the source of knowledge and wisdom of other people like me and Bonnie, then it's not if you'll get better, it's how fast will you get better. It does take 4.5 years to become a black belt. You cannot get those skills in 30 days. It takes a while for your body to get used to all those moves. But in 4.5 years, you'll be a black belt. You want to be financially independent? I can show anybody how to create financial independence in 90 to 120 days. Oh, okay, let's say it takes a year. That's a reality. I've done that for 25 years. Anybody who will follow the advice I give them can do that if they're willing to do the things I teach them to do. And if they're not, it doesn't matter how wise the teacher is or how good the professor is or how good the mentor is. It matters how hungry the student is.
That's right, because you can set all the goals in the world, you can make all the vision boards you want to, but unless you walk the walk and you accomplish those goals and you continue to push forward, it does you no good.
Right. So here's another thing, since you brought that up. Ladies and gentlemen, don't do goal setting anymore. Writing down on a piece of paper goals that you want, like New Year's resolutions or any goals. You're not going to do that anymore because what I've learned is that 8 out of 10 of those things you write down on a piece of paper and call goals will not happen. That's an 80% failure rate. I cannot recommend that formula. It does not work. In fact, it has a negative aspect to it because when you look at the 8 out of 10 things you did not get, what kind of conclusion do you draw about you? Here's what I hear. I must not have what it takes. I'm a loser. I'm not as good as you, Jack, or as good as whoever they're comparing themselves to. Here's what I do know is if you want something badly enough, you don't have to write it down anywhere. You might have to write down the mechanics of how to get it, but not do you want it. And a perfect example of that is a 16-year-old kid who wants a driver's license and wants to learn how to drive. Not once did anybody listening to this show or me write down at age 15 and a half, I will get a driver's license. All we did is say we wanted one, and then we found out what we got to do to get it, and we went to driver's ed class, and we paid the money to get it, and we took the class, and we learned how to drive, and then we went and took the course or the test, and we got a license. Nowhere in there was goal setting. Nowhere in there was affirmations or visualization, reading self-help books, motivational speakers. That's all new. That stuff all started in the 1940s. What did people do for success before that? Because they figured out what they wanted and they set about to learn how to make it happen. And it doesn't matter in what arena. Even illegal and immoral things people do, like the criminals. If they want money, they'll sell drugs. So it's not about right and wrong. It's a principle of truth that applies in any area of life. If you want to be a black belt in karate, I can show you how to do that, and it's going to take about 4 or 5 years of your life, and you're going to have to put in an hour of practice every day. You want to be able to buy a Lamborghini, you're going to have an excess of $700,000 or $450,000 minimum to buy that dang car, or be able to afford $8,000 a month payments. So if you want that kind of income, you cannot have a job working for Mr. Smith at $12 an hour.
That's right, because you're helping him afford his Lamborghini.
There you go. So that's where I was. I was a country bumpkin, no formal education, never went to college, and I was making minimum wage, or small dollars. It wasn't minimum, but it was really low. And then I met my mentor who taught me how to think differently and how to be differently, and because of him, I became and made millions. I became very wealthy because he taught me how. And people look at me, they want to know the secret to my success, and I didn't know what it was. I just did these things. And that's what launched my speaking and training career, because people began to ask me to come and tell the secret to my success. Well, I had to figure out what it was because I didn't have a formula. Nobody gave me a book to read, and nobody said, first you do this, then you do that, and then you'll be successful. My mentors all taught me how to do what they did. That's not the same thing as what I'm teaching people on this call. I'm teaching everybody that says, I want more out of life. In any area of life that matters to you, I'm saying that you need to get my audio program, my DVD of a live $15,000 seminar. It's part of the package. And I will give you my book, too. And with that information, you will be able to do what I did. And you will understand everything that I'm just sharing with thank you very much, Bonnie, for making this happen. You will be able to apply everything I'm sharing with you in this 45-minute to an hour call on how to apply the conquering force in your life. That's a term I gave, that power that God gave all of us. I call it the conquering force. That's the name of my audio program, how to use that conquering force within you. Because that force that God gave us all conquers every barrier in the way. We will run into barriers, but if you want what's on the other side of that barrier so badly that you're not going to stop until you've blown up the barrier, you've dug a hole under it, or you've gone around it, you will get on the other side of that no matter what, if what's on the other side is worth it to you. That's what I call a core desire. At 100, on the scale of 1 to 100, it's 100. Right. If the barrier is higher than the desire for what's on the other side, the barrier will, just like a dam stops water, the barrier will stop you permanently. But if you want what's on the other side of that, just like a dam, if there's more water than dam, the dam will stop it for a while, but it'll slowly but surely fill up, and then it'll go over the dam and keep going. That's God's plan for all of us. The question isn't can you do it? This question is what do you want to do? And then you learn from Jack Zufelt, from my materials and my way of thinking, how to apply the conquering force in your life. It's already inside you. You don't get it from me. It's already there. It's what caused you to learn to walk and learn to drive a car and get your driver's license and learn how to get whatever education you have. And everything you've learned is because of the conquering force within you. Now what you need is a success attitude to apply that, which is, and I'm going to repeat it again, it's that frame of mind that allows you to accomplish whatever you want, the hundreds, because you know that you can find a teacher, trainer, or mentor to help you create that thing, that opportunity. And you can make it happen because you can learn. One guy
Jack, how do they get in touch with you and your program?
Well, they can get my program through that website you just shared with them, DNAmastercourse.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they get me without me being live. Okay. It's the next best thing to me personally, consulting with them. And most people, I'm either really expensive or I'm pretty inexpensive. Like my materials at that site, they're definitely affordable. The lowest price is like $149. But if they wanted me, and I get hired by people all the time to personally mentor them, that costs them a lot of money because my time is really valuable. And I mean more than I charge the masses. I don't do masses that way. To sell 25 million people or my materials, they don't pay a lot of money for them because the masses can't afford it. And I wanted something that I teach to be able to get in the hands of as many people as possible. So again, Bonnie, thank you for allowing me to be on your show, giving me an opportunity to share with your listeners, and I congratulate you for having that ability. And now they know these truths which will set them free, and it's your fault. So thank you, Bonnie, for making this happen.
Well, thank you for being here. This is something we've been looking forward to for quite some time. And if they wanted to connect with you on Facebook, can you give them your Facebook number?
Yeah, it's just go to my name, Jack Zufelt.
Okay.
Let's leave.
All right, guys.
Let's end with this. I got one more quote I want to end with, and this is from somebody everybody knows. This is a guy who wrote the Jungle Book and Gunga Din. His name is Rudyard Kipling. Everybody knows this guy. But here's a quote validating everything I've just said, and he puts it in a really nice two sentences. He says, desire is the beginning of all voluntary action associated with achievement. The presence of any intense desire stimulates the imagination, creating ways and means of obtaining the object of that desire. Now flip the coin over. Here's the last quote. I guess I had two. If you do not get what you want, it's a sure sign you did not seriously want it.
Wow.
It's not because you couldn't. It's because you didn't want it bad enough. Anybody who hears my message from this call will never be able to say, I don't know what to do, because now you do. You've got to find out what you want with all your heart. Let's assume you have done that, and you want to be financially free or you want to be happily married, etc., whatever it is. Then what's left is go hunting for a teacher, trainer, mentor who can show you how to be that. And here's a rule of thumb. Only listen to people who have actually done it successfully. Don't get in mastermind groups where no one's a mastermind. Listen to people who are...
Unfortunately, we see that all the time.
Yeah, listen to black belts. If you want to be a black belt in karate, only learn from a black belt, not a blue belt, not a green belt. Because they can only get you to blue and green. A brown belt in karate can only get you to brown belt, but a black belt can get you to black belt. No one else can. You wanted to be a speaker, teacher, trainer? I can teach you how to do that. But a person who's going to Toastmasters, and oh my gosh, that's a really great group where they teach you to overcome the fear of speaking in front of people. But none of them are professional speakers making the kind of money I do, and yet they're all getting together to teach each other how to be speakers. No, they're teaching each other how to overcome the fear of speaking in front of people.
What do you think about, this is just something that just hit me. What do you think about TED Talk?
About what?
TED Talks.
Well, I think anybody that can qualify for and give a TED Talk is awesome. However, most of them do not make a living speaking. They just have a really strong passion about a subject, and TED Talks limit you, I think, to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's 10 or 15, something like that.
10 or 15 minutes. And so it's really not a fair description of somebody giving a good hour and a half speech. However, if you're good enough to do it in 10 minutes and the audience likes you, then, oh my gosh, that says that you know that subject. So do you want to make a living doing it? If you do, call me. I'll teach you how to do it for a fee and make a lot of money doing it, like millions. But most people I know, and I know a bunch who did TED Talks, and it didn't do anything for them except make them feel good for a while.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have met Jack Zufelt tonight, and we have given you some great information. Jack has poured everything he is into this phone call, and let me just say, take your time and go visit Jack Zufelt, Z-U-F-E-L-T, on Facebook, on YouTube, but get his program, and we have discussed that tonight. Go get the DNAMastercourse.com. If you're serious about making 2018 your year, your successful year, you're tired of sitting on the sidelines, you're tired of watching people surpass you, you have a desire in your heart, you have something that is nagging at you, you are tired of working for somebody else and helping them to buy that Lamborghini, then you really need to get off the sidelines. You need to get up and you need to take those steps, and you need to keep stepping forward. There is no stopping. If it's a passion, if you're tired of your life being the way it's been, or maybe you are successful but you're just not where you want to be, you need to go to DNAMastercourse.com, visit with Jack Zufelt on Facebook, watch his videos. He knows what he's talking about. He has the years of experience. He does not play. He is a very serious person about success, and he's serious about your success. So, Jack, we just want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and giving of your time and effort and your love for what you do. We've enjoyed this. We've gotten so much out of it, and we will be sharing this program everywhere on the Internet. And I hope and pray that everyone who needs to hear this, who has that passion and desire, who's tired of standing still, will hear it, take that step, and decide to move their life in the direction that their heart desires.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad I was able to be with you. Thanks for making it happen, Bonnie.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
All
Bye-bye.
right, everybody. Bye-bye. Until next week. You guys have a wonderful week, a wonderful holiday. We will be taking next Thursday off because of Thanksgiving. So we want you to enjoy your time with your family, with your friends. And besides, we know after eating the turkey, everybody's going to be sleeping on the couch. So we love you guys. Have a wonderful holiday, a safe week. If you're traveling, we're going to be praying for everybody. So God bless you, and we will see you not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after.